And that is carried. I should have had my mic on.
Yeah, and I'm just going to do the sign.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Gannon, you have the resolution, please, and thank you.
I do, thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Bilsma that report RFD PW-26-2018, re-donor naming approvals, MERS Report Number 2, dated October 30th, 2018, be received, and 2, that council approve the donation naming opportunities for various features of the library and multi-use recreation facility as outlined in this report.
Councillors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councillor Gannon and seconded by Councillor Bilsma. Is there any comments or questions? Can I go to Councillor Chichak, please?
Mr. Mayor, further to thinking of the report, I do have a conflict with the report that was just discussed in camera, and I wish to declare that and to put on the record that I did not get involved with any of the discussion regarding to that motion while we were in camera.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? That is carried. And let it be known that Councillor Chichak abstained from the conversation and from the vote. Okay, we'll move into other business. This other business is an open session. We're going to be going to Councillor Chichak in a second. Township's representative, West Lincoln Memorial Hospital Community Advisory Committee, West Lincoln Memorial Hospital, upgrade announcement and petition to the Legislative Assembly of Ontario to address maintaining services and expedite the rebuilding of West Lincoln Memorial Hospital. This is a verbal update. Councillor Gannon, you have that resolution to put it on the table? No? I do. Councillor Chichak, go ahead with the resolution to put it on the table.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I just think we did this backwards. I moved it, Councillor Gannon seconded. So moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Gannon that the Municipal Council of the Township of West Lincoln support the community petition as coordinated by Sam Osterhoff, MPP, Niagara West, addressed to the Legislative Assembly of Ontario to save West Lincoln Memorial Hospital, and that the Mayor-elect and the CAO be and are hereby authorized to meet with the Mayor-elect, Mayor and CAOs of the towns of Grimsby, Lincoln, as well as any other appropriate stakeholders to advocate a position with respect to sustaining and redeveloping the West Lincoln Memorial Hospital as its vital acute care facility for West Lincoln, and that the Mayor-elect be authorized to take any additional actions required to support the West Lincoln Memorial Hospital.
Councillors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councillor Chichak and seconded by Councillor Gannon. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Chichak, to give a little bit of verbal report about it before we go to the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I do believe that a number of the community were caught unaware, just as everyone else, about the hospital. And being the representative, I thought I should just go back a bit over the history of what has happened. For the past 20 years, residents of West Lincoln, Lincoln, and Grimsby, who depend on West Lincoln Memorial Hospital for the community needs, have come together all too often to demonstrate their support for the services that are delivered by that community hospital, and to ask the province for renewed funding in order to re-energize and redevelop the hospital. West Lincoln Memorial Hospital has been a leader in many areas for hospitals of its size, a teaching hospital where doctors excel, having had the opportunity to work on so many areas rather than focusing on one or two specialties in a larger hospital. Obstetrics, including the unit of prenatal, birthing, and maternal child services, have put many women choosing to come to West Lincoln to deliver their children. Urgent care, endoscopy, surgery, all done in a patient-centered and patient-safe environment throughout the entirety of that hospital's career. So the history of the lack of investment has been reviewed recently, most recently, but has been reviewed recurringly throughout the 20-year history of concern that this community and others have faced. Most recently at Trinity United Church, which was recapped in the Hamilton Spectator, pardon me, on the weekend, and where an overcapacity crowd at Trinity were able to hear the latest of the tragedies regarding that hospital, but also hundreds were turned away, and yet hundreds more listened on Facebook outside the church. The message, again, West Lincoln Memorial Hospital is in need of dire investment in order to maintain its standards. Recently, the endoscopy was moved out for what was supposed to be a 6-month period with the docs and the anesthesiologists and nursing staff to operate at McMaster University. That 6-month period is now being extended as no solution has been arrived at with West Lincoln. Now, surgery and obstetrics will be required to move out while much-needed repairs are completed, a move that will cost at least $8.6 million and 27 months. Over 2 years ago, a commitment by the provincial government of the day was to invest $5 million in upgrading the infrastructure to service the entire hospital and as a move to get ready for the entire rebuild that had been promised by the Liberal government. When tendered, no bids were received for the $5 million upgrade, and it was then discovered that at least $7 million in infrastructure upgrades were required. The government of the day agreed to the increased costs, but the money was never received, and therefore the work was never done. Now, an additional $8.6 million, as determined by an engineering and architectural firm, will be required to update the equipment handling for endoscopy, as well as the surgery theaters and the obstetrics area. If surgery and obstetrics move out, our hospital loses anesthesia and so many other services that are there to support obstetrics and surgery. We become no more than a triage center or a glorified clinic. Doctors and midwives who work out of that facility will no longer be able to provide the services. And if waiting for 2.5 years or more, to create the appropriate care and services, those physicians and midwives will find alternative places to deliver the services needed by our community. What actions have been taken? Mayor-elect Bylsma has been to Toronto with a demonstration last week, as well as a busload of individuals from West Lincoln and other municipalities in the affected area. Last week, there was a public meeting, as I mentioned, at Trinity United. There's another planned for this week. Mayor-elect Bylsma and our CIO are going to be going to a meeting later today with the other mayors to talk about actions to be taken. Yesterday in the House, Minister Elliott was questioned by MPP Jeff Birch regarding the future of West Lincoln. Minister Elliott commended MPP Oosterhoff on the work and actions he has taken, and at the end of her summation on the question period said, as said before, and I quote, "Hospital services are going to continue to remain open at West Lincoln." The question is what services and when. So this is some of what's happening, and West Lincoln Council has always supported, either by my attendance and the support of me attending the West Lincoln Hospital meetings, or individually at meetings such as these, we have supported the need for that hospital to continue, the need for a rebuild, and the need for a complete Blue H on top of that hospital. So there is currently a petition available. It was circulated at the meeting of last week, where it will be taken to Ottawa and to Toronto by MPP Oosterhoff. It was signed by hundreds of people, and many people have endorsed that petition online, but unfortunately, endorsing the petition online does not give you the signature, and that is what is required today. So these petitions are available in all of our municipal buildings, here at Town Hall, at our libraries, and in the arena, where it is offered by one of the parents who are very, very dedicated to this hospital effort. So I would urge, and I say to each of the members of our community, that they get to one of our facilities and sign that petition so it can be taken by MPP Oosterhoff to Queen's Park and to Ottawa in the near future. And that's really the message, is that that hospital is at risk. 2.5 years of complete closure of the surgery and endoscopy and obstetric departments will really be a death knell to that hospital, which we cannot allow to happen. The idea of a complete rebuild generated by this particular issue is the one that we have to focus on. And I have no problem saying that this council and councils before it have totally supported that hospital, and I'm sure that councils in the future will do the same. So today, the message, again, I repeat, is to the members of our community to find that petition at one of our facilities and to physically sign the petition so it can be carried to those two sites. And so we can, again, put our plea forward for a complete rebuild of our hospital in a method that does not close that hospital for 2.5 years and lose us the vital facilities to the community of West Niagara. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else wish to comment on any of the going-ons over the last week or so? Mayor-elect Bosma.
Still councillor here tonight, but yeah, just I'm overwhelmed. I'm grateful for the amount of work that has been done on this file for many years. I'm getting current on it. I'm meeting all the stakeholders on that file. So just to reiterate what Councillor Chichok has already mentioned, things are moving very fast. I'm not going to speak to what may be perceived to be political motivation at this time to, I don't know, maybe take advantage of the municipal transition or whatever. It is most unfortunate that they catch most of the town councils kind of in this state of lame duck. But right now, the legwork needs to be done. It was very heartwarming after 20 years, and there's a lot of frustration, and there is a lot of distrust of the system that the Trinity United Church, which was organized in about 24 hours, was filled to capacity, and there was 500 turned away and 500 watched online. It does show that despite the fact that people say that they're frustrated and there's a distrust of the powers that be, they still rallied together in a very short amount of time. The projected petition number is about the 20,000 petitions, and that's really, if we consider that last Monday morning was the announcement, that's only about 1 week to generate that kind of numbers. I know petitions were just flowing through my house all kind of throughout the week, and they were just getting filed and filled and tapped into. So just to further or to add to what Councillor Chichok has said, that this is it's fluid. I think that we also recognize that some of the stars that have not been aligned for many years are now aligned. There are Sam Oosterhoff has been said is working extremely diligently on this. It's basically consuming him around the clock, and so he's doing all that he can. And I can say that I'm very pleased with his diligence on the matter, as well as Mayor Sandra Easton, who has taken kind of the lead in this lame duck period to get us up to speed. So I look forward to that meeting later on today, and some of the ones that are scheduled next week. That's all.
Thank you. Councillor Rayner?
Thank you. I was frustrated to find this out because I understand in the past why nothing was done. I mean, it was the Liberal government, the leader of the opposition was in our riding. Obviously, they weren't going to build a new hospital to glorify him, so that wasn't going to happen so long as that existed. But when that changed in the last election, I thought things were finally going to start to move forward because there was so much work. I believe this township even donated years ago. Did they not? There was funds accumulated, and I know West Lincoln was involved in it. So I thought now that, as the future mayor mentioned, the stars are starting to align with the right parties in the right direction. I was shocked to find that this was going to happen, because I thought finally, after all these years, and people have been more than patient, and I almost thought that they were delaying it, hopefully that the people who were supporting it are finally going to pass on through old age and this thing was going to go away, because this thing has been dragging on for so long, it's been ridiculous. And now the right parties come in and all of a sudden, bang, this happens. And I'm thinking, this is the last thing one expected. We thought finally, after all these years, things are finally going to get done and it's going to be over, and we waited long enough, and thank goodness it's going to happen. And then this happens. So I appreciate what Sam Oosterhoff's doing, but he must be in a very awkward situation right now. And it must be very frustrating, obviously, for everybody involved. But hopefully, with all this petitions and everything, that they're finally going to get the message that the direction they're going in right now is not acceptable to the people who live here. Thank you.
So, Counselor, thank you for your comments. The one thing that most of you know, and I just want to remind you, is that West Lincoln Memorial Hospital is owned by Hamilton Health Sciences. It is Hamilton Health Sciences that must make application through the LHINs to the government in order to get the money. And that's the money, whether it be the rebuild. There are 5 stages, 1A, 1A, 2, 2A, and 3. And also for the renovation too as well. So in saying that, yes, it is ultimately the government who makes the decision and gives the money, but it's Hamilton Health Sciences that makes the application.
Mr. Mayor, it was funny because a couple of years ago, Rob Isaac was here, I believe, and I was chair of finance. And kind of jokingly, I said, he's here tonight to announce the start of the new construction of the hospital. Remember that?
Yeah.
Kind of, no, I'm not here for that. And, I kind of was the pun, like, we waited long enough, what are you waiting for? And his reaction was, just don't hold your breath. And then this. So, you wonder what side he's on. But, I mean, anyways, I understand it is under Hamilton Health Sciences, but still, the direction, the feel, the flavor for the people in the area, what they wanted, it's very clear. I just don't understand why they have to keep doing this.
So as Councillor Chichek stated, the number was 5. I think it went to 7.5, 7 or 7.5, and that was for the 2 years ago for the renovation of the HVAC, the plumbing, the heating, the electrical and things like that. But it never was actually tendered, and the money never came forward. Now we're talking about an additional $8 million. So we're now actually at about $15.5 million that is going to be the ask. Then, and it's important to separate the whole process that West Lincoln Memorial Hospital has to go through with Hamilton Health Sciences through the rebuild process too as well. These are just to keep the hospital alive.
Understand, Mr. Mayor, I believe Councillor Chichuk mentioned there was a tender out, and it was not accepted because it was $2 million under of what it really would have cost, and nobody tendered for it. So there actually was a tender process, but it never happened.
Go ahead, Councillor Chichuk. You're right, Councillor.
You're both right. There was a tender. It came in over the budget, and the province agreed to the increased budget, but it was never awarded. The tender was never awarded, so the work was never done because the money from Queen's Park, while promised, never arrived.
May sound like a very foolish question, but if it was promised and it was agreed upon, what happened in the process? Because if you agreed that you were going to do it, then the follow-through should have been, what am I missing in that? Usually when the government says they're going to do something and they've committed to it and it's public knowledge, they follow through.
Councillor Chichuk, can you use the university example that just happened last week, the money that was promised for the universities?
I can do that. Thank you, and I would have. Well, first of all, I can say that, like any construction, look what we found in the arena. We thought that we could fix it, and we couldn't because it was over $7 million to fix it. So we had to make a hard decision. So work comes in and people change their minds. As to the province and what they were going to do, first of all, we're talking about a new government who has a different way of looking at how they'll spend money and has reasoned that they have different priorities, and they have been faced with an amount of debt that they do not appreciate and are having to figure out ways to keep taxes low, which I'm sure you'd appreciate, Councillor Rayner. And they've chosen to put this statement out. Now we're hoping to work with that government in order to find ways to finance this hospital. So I would suggest to you that we work with the government of the day and try and find a way to endorse the activities that are underway and get a rebuild of a hospital, which could cost $500 million. But we're not the only ones suffering. last week, along with the announcement about the hospital having problems and needing $15 million just to keep the doors open until a rebuild is done, 3 cities, Markham, Brampton, and Milton, received news that the university campuses that were promised and put into play for each of those were virtually postponed for 5 years. The mandate of the current government at the provincial level is for 4 more years. So in fact, this government is not going to deal with providing funding for those universities to go ahead, so virtually canceling them, and for another government to reprioritize. And that happens all the time. So we're another one of the bits that today is being looked at by a new government that promised us $7 million. We're now asking this government, as the mayor has said, for $15 million. And what we can hope for is that with encouragement, persistence, and pressure through petitions, etc., and asking them to reprioritize us, I think we would be best to say, please look at us again for the 20-year history that we've put before every government, and please let's not castigate their prioritization, but make them rethink it so they will look at us and be willing to at least open their purse for at least $15 million to keep the doors open, or in some way put the $15 million to a repair that will go forward to a complete rebuild.
There's still something this, to me, when the $7 million was agreed upon that by the province, it said, okay, we'll accept that. We promise we'll pay it. That was the previous government. They should have put forward the money before the election, and therefore this should have been a done deal. It shouldn't have to be something that the next government, be it somebody different, which it was, or them coming back, which nobody knew at the election time. But if it was promised by the previous government that, yes, we understand it was low, and we recognize that and we'll look after it, that should have been a done deal that this government shouldn't have to look at, because it was, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you promised it, then you deal with it. The next election, that's up to them to decide, but you followed through what you said you were going to do. It seems to me like it was false hopes, with the hope that the election would, if they get reelected, they're going to be fine. If not, then somebody else could deal with it. It doesn't appear to me that that was very sincere. Obviously, it wasn't, because it didn't come through. But if somebody promises they're going to do something, then they should have done it prior to the election, because it was their government that promised they would do something. They shouldn't be leaving it to the next people.
Mr. Mayor, in rebuttal to that, I think we need to say to Councillor Rayner, thank you, and you've just, in fact, quantified what it is that politics is really all about.
All right, I'm frustrated by this. That's all.
Okay. Councillor Garnan?
Thank you. I was not able to attend the meeting last week, but as we're going around and everybody's saying the coulda, shoulda, woulda kind of thing, I watched the YouTube video of the meeting, and it seemed to me that that was the very thing that Dr. Davidson, as chair, was trying to avoid, was every other council jumping up and saying, you know, we want this, why didn't this happen? It seemed to me that the thread that was going through that was the common ask, and making sure that we were all speaking together. So I think the fact that there's a meeting this afternoon, and the CAOs and the mayors and mayor-elects are meeting together to find out what that common ask will be. And as I watched it, and I may be wrong since I wasn't there personally, I just was sitting watching it on my computer screen, was that time was the big thing. They wanted this decision not to be made so quickly. They certainly don't want to see that aspect of the hospital closed down for a period of time. I think that one of the points that we're missing as well is the fact that that will affect our clinic here. Our doctors who are here, you know, a good portion of their salary is based on the surgeries and the deliveries of babies and things that they are able to do
And rounds.
through that hospital, and the rounds, of course, keeping rounds. So it's more than just the hospital that we could lose. We really have this interconnected, our own clinic, which is already, with the new people coming to town, reaching its limitations in terms of who they can take in as patients. So I think the United Front is probably the best way to do it. And my third thing that I was concerned about is I think the petitions are due today at noon, are they not? Was that extended?
I don't know about the extension, but yes, you're right. There's a good package. Whatever they have, they're collecting at noon today to deliver. Now, if the petition keeps going and we get another 20,000 signatures by the end of the month,
So it's not.
to be sure.
Okay, so the end, it's not the end today at noon.
There is a
Okay.
certain gathering of what we have and delivering of that. And you
Okay.
today at Sam Osterhoff's office is where the package as it stands, whatever that number is, going to be couriered out. But the petitions that are still floating around, if we get another 5,000 or 10,000 next week, I'm sure that will also be.
Okay,
yeah.
good. So it's not a stop now and
No,
whatever.
no,
Good,
by
okay.
no means.
Thank you. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? I want to say to you, Mayor-elect Dave, you have a very good leader in Mayor Easton. She has a very good handle on this file. She has worked diligently with both myself and Mayor Bentley. We have many meetings with Hamilton Health Sciences Board of Directors, the Lynn Board of Directors. We met with the Ministry of Health, both myself and the CAO in Ottawa this past summer. They are well aware of this file. But bringing forward what Councillor Chichuk has brought forward here today is exactly what we need in order to keep the pressure on them. Yeah, and the head of nursing at Joe Brand for 35 years, she knows her way around a surgical theater, and she knows her way around hospital administration. So she's done an excellent job of being our leader, both Mayor Bentley and myself, at that level. So listen to what she has to say. I know the CAO is very abreast of what's happening, and CAO Brandt from Grimsby and CAO Krikopoulos from Lincoln too as well. The three mayors and 3 CAOs have been working very, very diligently behind the scenes to even get the hospital this far. So good luck. Thank you, Councillor Chichuk, for bringing this forward, with all due respect. This needed to happen. The Hamilton Health Sciences and the rest of West Niagara need to know that West Lincoln is on board, and we're all have our rows in the water rowing at the same time. And I think really at the end of the day, that's the only way that we're going to get a new hospital rebuild. Personally, myself, this $15 million will be a Band-Aid, but it is needed so that the government can get their feet underneath them financially, meaning the provincial government, to find out where they're going to be able to source money from. So I think that at this point in time, we want to keep our finger on the pulse also of doing a hospital rebuild as well at the same time, looking for retrofit and renovation dollars. Madam CAO?
Just a question. In hearing the resolution, I'm wondering at the end if we should also be giving direction for us to be sending this to MPP Sam Oosterhoff as well as Minister Elliott directly.
That the Municipal Council of the Township of West Lincoln support the community petition as coordinated by Sam Oosterhoff, MPP, Niagara West, addressed to the Legislative Assembly of Ontario to save West Lincoln Memorial Hospital. So it is going to Sam, it is going to the Legislative Assembly. And who was the other one that you said, Madam CAO?
I thought even at the end,
He's right.
at the end we could just be adding that it be directed directly to Minister Elliott.
Okay, that's fine. And the Lynn. Yeah. HH Niagara B. HHNB. Hamilton, Haldeman, Niagara, Brant.
Just if I could add, I just want to throw out a factoid. The current price tag on a rebuild is about $250 million. So 20 years ago, they were looking at 140 million. We raised 14 as a or as groups, and that number right now is residing between 225 and 270 million dollars. Just a factoid. Yeah.
Okay, so we just added here that the endorsement of Municipal Council of the Township of West Lincoln be sent to Sam Osterhoff, MPP Niagara West, Minister Christine Elliott, Minister of Health, and Hamilton Health Sciences, and the local LIN. Okay, that's all added to the initial resolution. Okay, seeing no more questions or comments, shall I call the vote? All those in favor? And that is unanimous. And again, that was moved by Councillor Chichak and second by Councillor Gannett. Okay, so we're looking at adjournment. The mayor declared the meeting adjourned at the hour of 11 minutes after 10, 10:11.